from so we can be more direct towards what you need for your collective, it looks like. Anyway, welcome. This is, hi.
Hi.
So this is about my conversation about becoming a professional dancer, and I can only be as authentic to my story, but so hopefully like the tips and things that I use for my journey can work for you. And then at the end we'll have like a question and answer about how we can create opportunities to dance. Before we start sitting down and just like chillaxing, I was gonna have us like do a little warm up and get into our body. And since I am Brazilian, I'm using some Brazilian music. So here we go, just stand up really quick, find space. Open your legs all a second. And inhale, breathing up. Exhale, shoulder roll. 2. Again, inhale. 2. Shoulder roll. Again, inhale. Circle. Inhale. Circle. And just circle the arms up and down, back. Up, down, and back. Take it forward. And circle the arms back. Circle the arms forward. Both arms up. Right arm is going to go back. Left arm is going to go forward. Both arms up. Switch. And open and close, rocking back and forth. And arms forward. Warming up the synovial fluid of the wrist. Circle. Reverse. Open and close the fingertips. And shake, shake, shake. And washing machine. Circle in the hips, full circle. Letting the arms do whatever they want to do. Reverse. Circling in the legs if you have space. Take it from the outside to the inside. Bring your legs together, bring your hands to your knees, and just circle in the knee. Reverse. Pouring all of your weight into that left side, pick the right leg up, circle the ankle. Reverse. Open and close the toes. And then just like shake it out. Try to let go, close your eyes. And see how you are to balance just on one leg. Beautiful, both legs on the ground. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, release. Inhale, reach up. Exhale. Inhale, grabbing that right wrist. Pull to the side. Slowly rolling down. Let your head release. Plie for 4 count. 4, 3, 2, and stretch. One more time, plie. 4, 3, 2, and stretch. Slowly rolling up. 4, 3. Beautiful. Switching your weight, pouring all the weight into the right foot, lifting the left. Circling the ankle. Reverse. Opening and closing of the toes. And shake it out. Close your eyes, balance it on that one leg. Both feet down onto the ground. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale. Again, inhale. Exhale. This time holding that left wrist, stretch to the side. And relaxing all the way over. Plying 4 counts. Here we go. 4, 3, 2, and stretch. Plie. 4, 3, 2, and stretch. Slowly rolling up, 1 vertebrae at a time. Beautiful, coming back. Woo. So, trying to get into our bodies. Since most of us are probably dancers, I always try to get into my body before I start getting into talking, because this is where my home is my body. So, back to our conversation about becoming a dancer. I think the first thing that you have to do is know who you are as a dancer. I feel like that is probably the hardest thing, is figuring out how you move, who you are, like your physical appearance and your background. I don't know if you know a little bit about my background, but I ended up going to University of Arizona, which is a very classical trained school, like ballet, modern, and jazz. And I'm also 36. I'm also pregnant, if you didn't see. So I'm on a different journey right now. But yeah, I think how I started my professional journey is really tapping into who Alicia is as a dancer, what I like, what interests me, because you can get really distracted and really, like, there's so many approaches to dance. So you have to really know what yours is so that you can go after that. So I think knowing your physical appearance, having an honest evaluation of your technical skills, like training is the #1 thing. If you're trying to be a professional dancer, really look at how many hours you're training a week. I feel like now that I've been in Phoenix, I don't know if I can call myself a professional anymore, because the time I spend actually training as a dancer has gone like, woo. So during the 15 years that I was actually dancing as a professional, I was putting in at least 8 hours a day, training my body, making it like the instrument that it wants to be. So making sure that those things are like really important to you, making time for your training. Doesn't matter what that training is. Like, there's so many companies with different types of training, but making sure that you're actually putting in physical work. So yeah, figuring out what drives you as a dancer, your personal interests, and your technical level, and your academic offerings. So like always knowing that there's like various avenues that you can take. So even while you are dancing professionally, knowing that you can be teaching, you can be doing so many things. You can be doing outreach, you can be working at Starbucks. Unfortunately, that happens a lot more than we wish it didn't have to happen. And then I would say the third most important thing about like knowing who you are is finding mentors that can mentor you in where you are. So for me, I guess I picked pretty powerful ones, which was helpful. Cleo Parker Robinson is one of my main mentors still to this day. And yeah, she's one of those people who has a company and can pay you. So if you have a mentor who can give you work, that's even better. So finding somebody who's like older, wiser, has been in the business, who knows, can give you advice for where you are and where you want to be. So that's my first one for you, really looking at who you are, looking at your background, making sure you're training every single day with whatever that means for you in your training. And yeah, finding an amazing mentor. So those are like the 3 main things that I feel like got me started, got planted seeds so that I could actually carve out my own path. So then you have to choose the right path. So for me, I feel like there's a lot of avenues to go in as a dancer. I personally chose concert dance because that's my architecture. I went to the University of Arizona, so I trained hours a day to get my leg up. So I wanted to get my leg up on stage, obviously. I wanted physical, I wanted to turn, I wanted to be on stage. I was one of those people that a lot of my friends went into like the commercial work, but I wanted the art part where there was like thought process behind it. Just the whole work around concert dance to me is like, for me, that's where my life has been. That's where I've chosen. So that's where I'm going to be talking from, since it's my most authentic path. But you, learning who you are, you have to choose the right path. If you're like, I don't want to get my leg up, I don't want to turn, there's so many other paths for you, like commercial work, academia. So if you want to become a teacher, or if you want to be in the studio, or if you're like looking to be an independent artist, all of your pathways is going to influence who you want as your mentor, who you need, like what training you need to have to get to where you're trying to go. So like knowing your path, it kind of goes along with knowing who you are and finding the right mentors. So yeah, I think if you are looking to be an independent artist, and a lot of times this is where it's at today, because you can write grants, you can write a personal grant, you can enter into festivals, things like this. It's a lot of work if that's where you're going. And for me, I was interested in, I just wanted to dance. I wanted to find a company that would pay me enough to make ends meet, and that I could be on stage and tour the world. That was my goal, and it happened. So it was wonderful. Yeah, so choosing your path, making sure you know the avenues of dance. Obviously, there's so many, and there's so many people that are necessary. For example, I was an artist on stage, a concert dancer. All the people who are involved to make that happen. So you don't have to always be the dancer on stage. So there's like the production element. We always had, like at Cleo's, it's Mary Hart. In Brazil, it was Irivelto. So these people are super important, like that, the people who are helping create that space as well, and to like lift up the community that you're in, making sure you're giving them like support and power, and know that they are there to help you to do what you do best. So yeah, there's like production team, a lighting team. So there's so many avenues that you can take as a dancer and still be involved in the communities. So it's just really taking a look, seeing what doors are opening, and really taking a look inside to make sure that throughout the process you feel like you're being satisfied. So I feel like number 2, I guess, would be like, do your research. So now you kind of know who you are, you're picking a mentor, and now you have to figure out how to get where you're trying to do. And that a lot of times comes from doing the research, because it's not going to come to you. No company is going to be like, oh, Alicia, you're sitting in Phoenix, Arizona, why don't you come dance for me? No, you have to be looking for them, and going to them and seeing like, hey, I'm here, I'm interested in your work. So I think it helps to watch a lot of dance. So nowadays, especially during this COVID thing, there's so many free videos from all of these professional companies putting on full works, because sometimes in the little Instagrams and stuff, you'll see like a little clip and you're like, oh, that's cool, but you'll see a whole work and you might not be actually interested in that company or that group or whatever, based on an entire evening work. So most evening works are like 60 minutes. So a lot of times the companies that I work with would have like 2 to 3 dances in a whole like evening production. Sometimes it would be an hour, sometimes it's an hour and a half, depends on the length of the professional works that you're doing. But like, it helps to know, this is another thing, even in concert dance, for me personally, was like figuring out if the company is a repertoire company, which means you're going to be doing multiple choreographers, visions and pieces and works, versus a like a personally owned company. So it's like one choreographer's voice the whole time. I've done both, and I feel like there's advantages to both of those things. In the repertory companies, you get fed because you get a lot of work all the time. You get guests coming in and out. The positives to that are all of these things, like having multiple people and choreographers coming in and teaching you work. Whereas when you work with one person, you really get to dive into the work. The work itself grows a lot. So the negative about an ensemble is that you have such a small process. Like most of the time, you're learning it in like 4 days. You're learning these like really deep pieces, especially at Cleo's. Like I did this piece about Hurricane Katrina, and I was literally the girl whose her whole family died in the shoot. How do you say that? The the hurricane. Sorry, I couldn't remember the word. And so I had to take on her story, and it was like a week that I had to like get into this like deep monologue and stuff like that, which is really hard to do. Whereas when you're with like in Brazil, I worked with one single choreographer, and we would work on a piece for like 2 years, like the same work, and travel with the same work. So there's like pros and cons to each of those things. The pro is that you get to learn a lot really fast, but you also don't really get into the depth of the work. So sometimes it feels a little like superficial. And I had to like cry, literally cry in that piece. And it was like, to get to that point without having like, I would literally like be reading articles and like watching videos to try to get into that space, because I felt like it was so fast put onto us. It was really hard to like make it authentic. Whereas when I'm doing work for a longer period of time, it like settles in the body and it transforms. And so there's pros and cons to like working with both. But going back to like doing your research, really making sure that you're like watching dance. So that means like full productions wherever you are, whatever city, since like I see that most of us are in Phoenix, but I have a friend that's in Belo Horizonte. So whatever city you are in, like making sure you are going to professional companies. Like it's a different thing. Like there's regional companies and there's professional companies. And if you're not at that place to be a professional yet, you do start at the regional company. So you should know also who's in your region, what is offered. So in Phoenix, for example, who's giving classes, what companies are available, what can I put on my resume right now, where I am. Like you have to be, where am I? I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. What can I be doing to like make my career better? So making sure you know like nueBOX, which is what we're here now, like opportunities that you can have through this organization. Do you know that? Make sure you do, because there's a seed residency that's happening right now that you can apply for and create work. And there's like this nueBOX is set up to support local artists. So knowing where you are and like taking advantage of the resources that you have here. So again, it goes back to knowing who you are. So like for me, like before I even came to Phoenix, I literally wrote down every single studio, like, because that's like where kids start their training. This is the head of like what's happening in the community. A lot of people will shit on that, but you can't, because this is where a lot of people start dancing, is in the studios. So you have to know like who are the people who are training people in Phoenix. And for me, like it was important to find out, okay, now who are the people of color, because that's something that's important to me. So that's where I teach encore dance, if you didn't know. So these kinds of things, you have to do your research. And then after the local studios, then you're looking at like actual regional companies that are dancing and doing things like this. So there is like nueBOX. You guys have shows all the time. They have Desert Dance Theater. There's Lisa Starry's company, Scorpius. So you may not, these companies may not be your aesthetic, but you should at least know who are the people who are creating shows in where you are, because you have to share resources. You can't just be like, oh, I hate what they're doing. You can hate what they're doing, but you have to know that they are a part of the community and that we're all sharing these same resources. So it's important to know those people as well. The independent artists, like who's the people who are making this thing work, the local festivals, so festivals that happen in Phoenix. So what are the festivals that happen in Phoenix, Arizona? You have Breaking Ground, you have Black Tina, we used to have Beta Festival, things like this. You have to know the festivals that are happening in your city in dance that you can even apply for. So if you don't know that they exist, how are you applying? So this is all about doing your research and knowing, like, what can I even apply for? What am I creating work for? If you're an independent artist, or if you're in Phoenix, if you want to dance, where can I dance? It might not be you're getting paid like for every rehearsal, but a lot of those companies that I had talked about earlier will pay you for their performances and things like this. And again, it's about keeping a personal practice, creating a resume, things like this. Then you also need to be reading about dance. So Dance Magazine, so easy. Enter on that, like the website, if you don't have time to like order the magazine. But that is like a national like collection. If you just turn to the very, very back of the magazine and you only buy one, you'll at least have like all of the lists of colleges, all of the lists of companies that are hiring, things like this in the actual magazine. So like if you're a dancer and you're not like tapping into the resources that we already have, like shame on you. We should know. So you can find out that there's an audition for the company that you want through this magazine. And then of course be taking classes. Like I'm going to say that 100 times, like figure out in your city, like it takes like a hit or miss type thing. Like when I first got here, I took so many classes, and then you kind of narrow it down to like, okay, no, this is what I like and this is how I want to train my body. But just like being open at first, like letting it all come in and like see who is in the community teaching class. And sometimes, like I'm getting older, like a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I only want to take from master teachers. Well, some cities are not going to have master teachers. So you have to figure out, okay, well, who is like young and that I can still learn from? And what is this new 2020 body? The future of dance are the younger generation. So like always be a student. Always, always, always. Go in, take class, be humble. Take the class. Like you can make a crappy class good for yourself. You just have to like have a nice mindset and be careful. Like if you're a professional, you're not going to hurt yourself. Even if the teacher's being like, throw yourself around, you're gonna be like, okay, you can modify and be careful. Like, so yeah, I say really diversify your skill base. Take from as many people and as many genres as you can, especially today. I think most companies are looking for artists and dancers that are multilingual in their bodies and their thinking. A lot of the times, like I said, outside of dance, like I took singing lessons and I took acting and I took music because a lot of the work that I ended up doing had those components in them as well. So like trying to supplement and bring in everything that you know into the art, like really like uplifts our community. And most of the time, all the professional companies that I'm seeing today, most of the dancers, they want you to be authentically you. So I've spoken a lot of Portuguese recently in like in my work, or English, or like text in general, just because if you have those skills, like artists and choreographers are using them, and that's really cool. If you can sing, use it. If you can write poetry, like use it. So diversifying your skill base. All right, my other important topic is know who's hiring and how to apply. Like that goes really like hand in hand with doing your research. So then after you do your research, you have to have, what do all dancers need? Like, I know it sounds dumb, but you need to look at your resume and make sure it's like a beautiful resume. People don't want like filler. You have to make it clear to the point. I did this, 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 and this. Like, make your name as big as possible. Like, you have to sell yourself, and your resume is what's going to do that. And a lot of times I've been to auditions where they literally cut people because of the unprofessional resumes that they come in with. For concert dance, just so you know, you need to have like a full body picture, and then you turn it over and your resume should fit on the back of the picture. You can either staple it for like cruise ships and stuff. If you have to literally like staple the, I wish I should have brought my resume. So it's like, let's say this is your resume and this is your headshot. Most of the time you'll need a headshot and a resume that are like the same size, and a full, like what you look like. So if you've changed your hair, or you're changing your hair a lot of times, like they want to know what you look like today, and they hire you. Like, I've literally signed contracts that I had to have 6-pack the whole time that I was under contract, and I couldn't dye my hair because that's changing the image of, they want me for this Alicia that I am right now. And so you have to make sure you're updating your photo to that, and your resume as well. Yeah, so making sure you have like a nice dance resume. You have to also, like, this is things that people are just going to ask you. They're going to ask if you're teaching classes and things like this, they need a bio. And so you should probably have, there's like 3 main ones that you need. There's like a 2-sentence resume, like a 50 words and 100 words. So like making sure you have all 3 of those so that you're ready to go. So whoever asks you for a bio, like a little mini, if they say mini bio, it's that like 2 to 3 sentence one. If they say biography, like I hate when dancers have like that 200-page list of like what they want. Nobody is reading that, especially if you put it in a program. So like 100 words max is like the longest that they want, a 51. So like really picking out the things that are important that stick out for your career, for your bio. And then if you are savvy, having like videos, because a lot of times nowadays, especially companies will be like, send us a video audition. So having like that material on your side pocket. So if something opens up today and you need it by tomorrow, you already have that like ready. So mine's like super old. Like I have one from, I don't even want to say, it's like from VHS and stuff. I don't use that one anymore. I use the one from Brazil that's like short and small, and you can just like send them links, like a YouTube link or anything like that, so that they can see you as a dancer. Because a lot of times you don't have an opportunity to go, let's say, to London or something, and you want to audition, but you have a video of yourself. So making sure you have a nice video. And if you don't, like, honestly, it's worth paying somebody to like give you a nice video so that you can actually get a good job at this point. A lot of times if you're going into commercial work and stuff like this, you need an agent, or you need a grant writer, or you need, so just again, knowing your resources. And then being willing to actually pay for, like, the more quality your product, the more, or the more quality that you're putting into your work, the end product and the end goal is like better. So a lot of times it's not good to just like take a selfie with your camera, even though they're really nice. Like, that's not okay. Like, get somebody to take your picture. Like, the more quality you're presenting yourself, the more people are going to know that your work is of quality, if that makes sense. And then knowing which programs to apply for. So when I was still in school, I literally, how my whole entire career started, I didn't have money to go and travel and do all these auditions. So I had to do a lot more work in the underwork. So I wrote to get a personal grant to go to Philadelphia. I didn't even, like, it was crazy. Like, I was like, I am gonna go and be a dancer with Philadelphia. How am I gonna do that? I wrote for the Medici scholarship, and I got like $5,000 for the summer, and they gave me this money, and then I was like, oh, I better make it happen now. So I like filled my luggage with a backpack, and I didn't even make it, but like it made my audition so much like, I have to, I already wrote this entire program, and like I'm there, and if I don't make it, I'm gonna be in Philadelphia for the summer. What am I gonna do? So but yeah, so really like go after it. You have to put your fingers where your mouth is. Like, you have to put everything into like fluid motion. You can't just like think about it. You have to be all about it. You have to be action. So for me, that was writing a grant, getting the grant, being physical, going to summer programs. So like, if you're, I don't know, Rachel, where you are in your life right now, I'll open it up here in a second, but like learning how to use those resources and things like that. All right, I guess I'm going to talk about knowing the actual reality of what you're getting yourself into. And it's kind of sad, but it's like, you have to know that this is a reality, that most of the jobs, even the ones that I had, like 52-week contracts, which is like the glory, like those don't come along too often. You're still only making, like, I'm talking about $24,000 a year is what I ended up making. You know what I'm saying? And that was like as a full-time dancer. The good thing about that was like they, most of the companies that I worked for, thank God, had like health benefits and things like that. We had our own like physical therapist, but some of these little tiny companies don't have the same sort of support. So knowing that you're going to have a side gig is like for every single professional dancer, unless you're like top dancer, which are very, very few people. So knowing that you're going to have a side hustle is something that you need to know going in. For me, I always ended up doing teaching because it kind of feels natural to use what I already know, which was, I'm a physical being. This is where I feel at home. So I always taught like in any sort of capacity. So I like got a yoga certification. So I was teaching in gyms. I did like personal training. I did teaching in studios. I started with acro. Now that I'm older, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that because you get a little bit more hurt teaching acro. It's easier to teach a ballet class than anything else. But anyway, knowing that you have a side hustle. I've also worked at like Starbucks at 5 o'clock in the morning so that I would have time. And just being honest with the people who you're working with, especially, I feel like studios that hire professional dancers are a little bit more lenient when you have to go on tour and stuff like that. Whereas I found that I always got fired from the other ones. Like when I would work in the food industry, I worked at Cheesecake Factory, but then we went on tour for like 3 months. So I couldn't work there. You know, after, they're not going to be like, oh, we're going to hold the spot. Whereas like studios, you can usually, like, I had like an assistant that was in the studio that would help me. So when I did go on tour, it was an easier transition. And then really I'm trying to finish as fast as possible, but balancing your personal life and your dance life, like not letting that entire thing consume your life, because you have to handle rejection. A lot of times you're going to get to, you're going to go out and audition and not get the job. Like, how are you handling that? If you're balancing your personal life and your dance life, it's a little bit easier. Even rejection within a company, like when you're in a company, and for some companies, they're like 20 people or at least 8. So I've danced with 20 and 8 most of the time in between those numbers. And there's a lot of shady things that happen when there's 20 people vying for one spot and a choreographer's there for like 4 days. You're like, and how you handle the rejection of like not being in the piece, because not all the dancers are always in a piece. And so just really having like a self practice, like a self like meditation, like yoga was really good for me for that, like a spiritual and like praying and figuring out how to like balance and having like a personal life, like always having somebody else so that you're not always like, rejection. So yeah, I think that is it. Oh yeah, and then find my like last little like wrap up is like really find your people, because this community is huge. And there's always somebody who's on like in your corner being like, yes, I like what you do. I want to do more of this like you, this like-minded people, like surrounding yourself with people who really understand like what it is that you are doing with your dance, and like staying connected and networking with those people so you always feel lifted up. Get in front of the right people, like when you're in the, so it's not just about like what you have to find the people who can actually like pay. And that is the hardest part, is like really presenting yourself professionally and finding out who's like who can actually pay me for what I'm good at, and who's going to support this idea, and like what are those people, where are they, what do they look like, and that's really important. And then making sure that you know how to communicate your vision. I feel like that's the last most important thing. So like it kind of combines all of the things together, is like you are selling yourself, like essentially from the get-go. Whoever you are, you have to be like, I'm good, hire me. Like you can't be like, oh, you have to be a little bit, you have to be your own self-advocate and communicate clearly what your vision is of dance, what you like, and you'll end up finding the right community and this network of people. So I've talked probably over my time. I'm going to open it up for you guys to ask questions, and if there's any way I can support you in your journey and what you're doing, that would be wonderful. Giza, se você quiser falar em português, pode, tá bom? Go ahead, ask away.
É porque eu tinha desligado o meu microfone. Não, e o meu tradutor tá aqui um pouquinho, sabe? Mas aí tá dando para levar. E as meninas também estão gostando, porque eu tô aqui com dois. Tá corrido demais, mas tá dando. Eu acho que eles não devem estar entendendo nada. Mas assim, pela sua articulação, dá para entender muita coisa, entendeu? Aí tá dando para escrever de uma forma aqui que tá dando para montar.
Perfeito.
Obrigada.
De nada. Obrigada a você.
Alicia, tudo
Hello.
bem?
Tudo.
Eu fiz um workshop com você aqui e aí eu comecei a te acompanhar. Eu cheguei um pouquinho atrasada, também estou tentando entender, mas assim, realmente os gestos ajudou bastante.
Que tudo!
Mas a gente está falando sobre realmente como começar a se inserir projetos e trabalhos nesse mercado da dança inteiro. E a nossa proposta que está ouvindo é produzir realmente tipo um portfólio.
Uhum. Isso mesmo.
Entendi. Então tá bom. Então só para eu me localizar aqui melhor.
Tá bom. Mas eu posso falar com você, se você pega meu e-mail, você pode perguntar qualquer coisa, eu posso traduzir em português para você, para fazer tudo que eu falei, os ponto a ponto, tá bom?
Entendi, ótimo. Eu quero.
Eu vou escrever aqui.
Porque eu realmente entendi algumas coisas, mas algumas ficou meio para trás. Você tem um pouco de noção assim de como está sendo, como antes dessa pandemia, né? como está o mercado na Espanha com relação à dança?
Isso que você teria que procurar, olhar na
Sim.
internet, isso que eu estava falando. Mas me manda suas perguntas. Você viu no chat que eu mandei o meu e-mail?
Vi, acabei de ver.
Tá, então copia e depois a gente pode conversar pessoalmente também, tá bom?
Sim. Não, tá ótimo. Obrigada.
Por nada.
Eu amei, amei.
Rachel?
Hi. Thank you so much for that information. It was really helpful to hear, and also to be accountable to. Some of these things I know I should be doing, and so to hear you say it again, I'm like, yep, gotta get it done. So thank you so much for that. I'm primarily a theater artist, but my creative partner is a dancer, so I try to do as much dance work that I can and learn as much about it as I can for my own creative practice for that collaboration that we have.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
to
awesome.
benefit that. So it's also helpful to hear you talk about like the dance career, and I can see parallels between the theater career as well. But to hear you talk about those things from your perspective is really amazing. So thank you so much for your generosity in sharing that today.
Well, thank you for being here. That was awesome. Is it weird if I like kind of do like a quick review in Portuguese of what I talked about? Since
that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Para Giovana e Gisele, eu vou falar sobre um pouquinho de o que eu falei. Eu falei primeiramente sobre sabendo quem que você é nesse mundo de dança, né? Aí procurando aulas para treinar todo dia, deixando seu corpo muito em forma, tem que saber quem que você pode fazer aula, quem que é o melhor na cidade, anotando, tipo, as companhias, assistindo companhias, os vídeos de dança na cidade onde que você está. Giovana, você está em Belo Horizonte também?
Sim, estou em BH também.
Isso mesmo. Então, Belo Horizonte tem bastante CIA. Quantos anos que você tem?
21.
Você procura Andrea Maia, que ela tem um grupo chamado Balé Jovem. Aí, esse treinamento é o melhor na cidade para mim. Aí, sempre tem aulas nos outros lugares, mas ela, se você realmente quer ser profissional, essa mulher que vai deixar você, tipo, 100%.
Ótimo.
Né?
E, Alicia, a gente tem essa dificuldade, né? Porque aqui a gente tem N escolas de dança, mas poucas com qualidades, né? Poucas com professores que têm conhecimento, né? Infelizmente, a gente está assim, esse mercado aqui no Brasil.
E assim, mas a cada companhia, por exemplo, tem a sala B no Grupo Corpo. Se você faz aula no Grupo Corpo, é uma coisa. Mas se você está treinando com o grupo, é outra coisa. E você quer treinar com o grupo para melhorar seu currículo, para andar para frente, esse tipo de coisa, né? Então, eu estou falando, Giovana, para procurar o treinamento primeiramente, saber quem que você é, sendo realmente procurando o que você tem de bom e procurando um grupo que você vai bater bem, sabe? Que vai treinar seu corpo do jeito que você quer treinar seu corpo. Você é mais clássico ou mais contemporâneo?
Eu sou mais contemporânea, eu sou aluna do Jorge Ferreira. E foi do Mário também.
Oh, perfeito, Jorge! Então, você já tem um caminho, né? Você procura o Jorge, fala com ele, fala, o que eu posso fazer, com quem que eu posso treinar. Mas, realmente, Andrea Maia e o Balé Jovem, que é muito bom.
Beleza.
Yep.
Vou procurar.
All right, everybody. I hope that was good. I don't know if anybody else has questions. Julie, do you want to talk a little bit about nueBOX and what you guys are offering?
Yeah, so nueBOX is an organization that supports artists and mostly dancer performance artists. So we're going to be having a few fun online things coming up. Part of the No Pants series. The next one we have is about kind of just getting unstuck with Sydney Jackson, who used to live here but has moved away. And these webinars are like a great way to like have people that don't live with us like still be part of doing stuff. So I'm glad that you all from Brazil joined us. Thank you. How do I say something in Portuguese? Like, thank you.
Thank you. You say obrigada.
Obrigada. And we also have the seed residency. So Rachel, Small Dance Collective should apply for this. It's due tonight. But it's perfect for you all. And also in addition to that, we have another residency open, the Studio Lab, which is our more competitive and bigger residency that's 6 months long, and you get a stipend. So you guys should apply for both of those. The seed, I think you can go do it right now. I know your organization, and I think you have strong enough case to be able to go fill that out like on your own right now. It's kind of 2 questions that I think you already have the information for. So yeah, so thank you for joining us. We're gonna have also some living room dance parties. So there'll be dancers performing in their living rooms for us, and we can all watch. So yay!
Então, vocês escutaram? Você pode entrar nesse nueBOX e vai ter um monte de webinar, se vocês quiserem acompanhar.
Beleza.
So thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Hope this was helpful.
Thank you.
Tchau,
Thank you,
obrigada.
Obrigada. Obrigada, você arrasa.
Obrigada por dividir um pouquinho desse conhecimento com a gente. A gente tem só que aprender, né? Há muitos anos atrás aprendi com você, né? Vamos tentar prosseguir, vamos pegando isso aí. Com uns 40 anos eu vou conseguindo.